Hey, thanks for watching today's show. Today's video is brought to you by Cove. Now, we've been working with Cove for quite a while now, and we really like their products. In fact, we've been using this Cove split speaker set for over a year now in the office. This Bluetooth speaker set gets pretty loud. Let's check it out right now.
You gotta pay sacrifices. Can't let no hero save the day. Every day, think about you. I gotta pray. Lost without you.
Now, one of the coolest things about this speaker set, as you guys may have guessed from the name, is that this speaker set splits in two, and if we bump the volume, you can actually tell that the volume is still pretty solid. Pretty cool, huh? Now, the really cool thing about this speaker is that obviously it splits in half. You can separate them in a room you're in and get a perfect left and right stereo sound output. This speaker has up to 7 hours of battery life on one single charge. It's water resistant and has a built-in microphone with a range of 30 feet. Perfect to use indoor or outdoor. I can't recommend this speaker enough, and you're not gonna find one like this that splits for the savings that they're offering. So if you want to check out the Cove split speaker, please click the link in the box down below to get over 67% off, making it super affordable and one of the most unique speakers I've ever seen. So once again, thanks to Cove for sponsoring today's video. Enjoy the show, and remember, when you buy the speakers, you're supporting the show. So we appreciate it. Thanks for watching. Enjoy. Downloadable content. Two innocuous words that, when put together, are a prime source of video game controversy. It's easy to get jaded by the corporate shenanigans side of the DLC coin. Some games already have their DLC loaded onto the disc, but locked behind a paywall. Some games sell a season pass at launch for future DLC that may or may not be good. Some games use DLC to funnel predatory microtransactions down our throats. And some games use DLC as a crutch for not meeting deadlines. However, there is the other side of the coin that is downloadable content. The side of substance. The side that allows a developer to say, I gave you a complete game that I'm proud of, and here's some more. The side that gives us something just as memorable as the main game, and in some cases, surpasses it. So follow me as I take you through my top 10 DLCs. Let's begin.
Number 10.
The Last of Us may have snuck past me while I was at maximum hype, but once I got around to it, I was all in. The world was beautiful and horrifying, and Joel was the perfect anti-hero protagonist for it. The extraordinary circumstances that brought him and Ellie together led to a dynamic that I couldn't get enough of. So, what did that $20 season pass get us in terms of DLC? Well, beyond more maps, weapons, skills, and headgear for multiplayer, and the new single-player difficulty Grounded, what really brought me joy, and admittedly much sadness, was the Left Behind DLC. Here we get to play as Ellie during 2 moments in the game, allowing us to get both a deeper understanding of a character by visiting her background, but also to fill in the gaps of the main story when Joel was out of commission. And to top it all off, Left Behind has the only skirmish where you can pit 2 types of enemies against each other and then pick off the survivors or sneak past them altogether. This was such a fun concept that I wish I had these opportunities in the main game. My friends, this is DLC 101. If The Last of Us was a swimming pool, Left Behind made it wider and deeper instead of becoming just a kiddie pool nearby. It took a character we'd already attached ourselves to and gave us context like how far she's willing to go to help Joel or why she enjoys silly puns so much. And with the gameplay, we got more of what we enjoyed and a little something new. If more games follow the example of The Last of Us with their Left Behind DLC, I feel like we'd see a rise in the quality of downloadable content across the board.
Number 9.
The School of Athens. By studying Raphael's fresco of the ancient thinkers, one wonders what they might be discussing. Will democracy subvert the monarchy worldwide? What applications will the Pythagorean theorem have thousands of years from now? Or, who's gonna be next in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, my dudes? When it comes to Smash Brothers, DLC is simple. More characters and more stages keep the conversation going. Purchasing a $25 or $30 fight pass for characters and their stages to drop one at a time might seem steep, but since Super Smash Bros. Has never failed me, I'm in. And yeah, a lot of what I'm saying sounds totally unrelated to what I said was DLC 101 in the previous entry, but this is different. This is a fighting game. This is one of the best fighting games. It's like an endless party, right? Where if it even hints at dying down, some new guy shows up with the karaoke machine in one hand and a leashed baby zebra on the other, and I'm like, I'm sticking around to party with that guy. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate can build hype with new character DLC the way no other game can. However, I do have to throw some love and respect towards Tekken 7 for coming very close. Anything is truly possible now that we can set Street Fighter's Akuma against freaking Negan. And not just comic book Negan, but Jeffrey Dean Morgan Negan. That is all just so wild, but nothing for me can top the internal hype of me having Banjo, Joker, and Sephiroth, and so many other favorites in this game, and it seems like no one's really off the table anymore. I mean, who's next? Yes, guys, it finally happened. I called it. Yes.
Number 8.
Some days I feel like a badass from Street Fighter 2, ready to take on the world. Other days I feel like the bonus stage car. On those other days, I turn to my favorite From Software title to get all the punishment I need, Bloodborne. Something about the Lovecraftian world of Yharnam with its gothic architecture, Victorian influences, and savage inhabitants that just feels like home in some creepy ass way. Bloodborne's DLC, The Old Hunters, takes the world of the main game, throws it into the past, and provides us with cool new toys and absolutely brutal new bosses. Is it worth $20 for only one piece of DLC, you ask? I'm sorry, it's hard to hear you over this dope-ass whirligig saw. Yeah, it's worth it. In the Old Hunters DLC, you enter the nightmare realm of forgotten monster hunters. You gain insight as to why Yharnam is riddled with infected creatures, and that the early folks of your order may have had something to do with it. And along the way, you come across 5 new bosses, some manageable, and others that are utterly soul-crushing, namely the Orphan of Kos. This thing is insane. It's aggressive as all hell, nearly impossible to predict, and to top it all off, it will destroy you time and time again with, of all things, an attached placenta. Who thought of the design for the Orphan of Kos, and are they okay? In any case, defeating this creature was one of the more challenging moments in my gaming career, and it was absolutely worth it.
Number 7.
The life of a cowboy comes the share of wisdom. Don't dig for water under an outhouse. Don't squat with your spurs on. The wisest thing a cowboy ever said was, don't play Red Dead Redemption without checking out its DLC. Red Dead Redemption has a lot of additional content, offering something for everyone. Though the multiplayer packs did little for me, the Outlaws to the End DLC totally delivered. What's cooler than being a cowboy? Being a cowboy posse. This adds 6 missions to the game where you and up to 3 others can band together to fulfill specific objectives, like stealing a stagecoach to fill with gold, or escort a kidnapped girl back to her father. And you can bet your horse they'll all involve a lot of gunfire. And with the price tag of $0, it is totally worth it. But Outlaws to the End is just the beginning. If you thought I was gonna leave out the Undead Nightmare DLC, then you are undead wrong. This DLC gives us a self-contained, non-canon single-player adventure set in the same world as the main game. We still play as protagonist John Marsden and interact with the characters we've already grown attached to, but now we're contending with zombies. I can't recall how many times I fought zombies in video games, though I can say with certainty that this is the first time I fought zombies as an 1800s cowboy. And if that's not cool enough, just form some cool blood packs with 4 horses of the apocalypse and ride in style. And if fighting zombies as a lone cowboy is just too lonely, you can round up the posse for some good old co-op in the survival mode Undead Overrun. Or if you want to compete against others, Land Grab is a fun King of the Hill type mode that's included in Undead Nightmare despite having nothing to do with the undead. Rockstar managed to deliver more than just a little something for everyone after already delivering so much, which is a hell of a way to metaphorically ride off into the sunset.
Number 6.
So, you just finished making your game, you told the story you wanted to tell, and now it's time to put that DLC icing on the cake. That is, unless you discover that you have a ton of that cake missing. That's when you need to crack some more eggs, turn the oven on to its DLC setting, and get to baking. And that's exactly what happened with Final Fantasy 15. Now, normally I frown upon DLC being utilized as a means of damage control, but 2 points. 1, I liked Final Fantasy 15 on its own, but 2, its DLC absolutely rules. Everything that people felt was missing had arrived. Episode Gladiolus, Episode Prompto, Episode Ignis. I finally got to see what happened to my boys. And it was so well received that we later got to take on the villain's perspective with Episode Arden. Furthermore, the DLC then introduced Comrades, the first multiplayer expansion ever introduced into a main Final Fantasy game. Not only did I get to continue to enjoy the excellent mechanics the game had to offer alongside friends, but I got a sense of what it was like for the more common people in the land. While Noctis and his friends are trying to cut the chaos off at its source, it's easy to forget that there are folks at Ground Zero dealing with the constant plague of demons. Once again, there's that background and depth that DLC can add in order to enhance what was set up in the main game. And this DLC does that beautifully. Also, there was a random ass Assassin's Creed DLC, which is pretty damn funny, but yeah, that was the thing.
Number 5.
Play Azuras Wrath. Play Azuras Wrath. I'm not saying you have to complete it. I'm not even saying you have to finish the damn game, but you have to experience it. It's the insane high-octane anime you can play. But along with the bonker-ass base gameplay as Demigod Azura, we do get a pretty great story, and the DLC does a fantastic job of expanding on it. But instead of being tacked on as a different mode or as a companion story, the DLC takes the form of extra chapters interwoven into the main game, plus additional chapters at the end, leading to the quote-unquote true ending. It's all good, it's all fun, and it does enhance the main story and characters. But that's not why this game is on this list. There is a DLC pack that has nothing to do with the main story called the Lost Episodes DLC. And if you really don't want to know what it is, skip ahead because I'm about to spoil the fuck out of it because you guys. Here we go. A portal opens up for like no reason and suddenly you're fighting Ryu from Street Fighter, but not in the way you're used to, but in a 2D Street Fighter engine because it's on Ryu's terms. And if you win, Ryu turns into evil Ryu for like no reason and knocks you into the freaking moon where you fight evil Ryu in the way that you're used to. And then Akuma shows up for no reason. And yes, we're still on the moon and you fight him in the Street Fighter engine. And then he turns into Oni Akuma. And so you fight him and you both crash land back on Earth and turn into stone for hundreds of years, like for no freaking reason, until you both break free and you end up fighting. Oh my god. God, that is so hype. Look, I know that with all the stuff that's been happening for no reason, it totally goes against what I've been saying that I enjoy most about DLCs. And I just don't care. When I think about Azuras Wrath, I don't think about his relationship with his daughter or the human worshippers. No, I think about Ryu and Akuma and the moon and Maximilian's awesome boss rage video. It's hilarious in that way. It's just too much, but in the best way possible. And as far as I'm concerned, the Lost Episodes DLC is Azuras Wrath.
Number 4.
For a time, this game was the bane of my existence, and the reason for that was the downloadable content, particularly the PTSD-inducing Godmaster. I am, of course, referring to Hollow Knight. Getting to 112% pushed me to the brink, and I was so happy when it was all over. And now that I'm on the other side of it, I can look back at it and say, damn, that was some good DLC. The combat of the game seems so simple yet provides endless opportunities to enhance your skill, and you're always making split-second adjustments. Hollow Knight absolutely capitalizes on that with the new bosses introduced in Hidden Dreams and Lifeblood. And with the Grim Troop DLC, I was able to explore new facets of my adorably eerie bug world and continue to enjoy the nihilistic humor that pervaded. Something about the story's tones, the visual art direction, and the perfectly appropriate music really came together to make me feel things for a game that I wouldn't normally expect. And that brings me back to the Godmaster DLC. Holy hell, was there so much to do in there. So much to master. But you know what? By keeping its visual themes consistent, introducing new and exciting bosses with all those bindings to nerf me, and giving me more of that beautiful musical score, I can look back and be proud that I stuck it out. Given the chance, I would take much more time with it to let the beautiful direction sink in and not try to rush the wave of bosses in Godmaster. Oh, and I almost forgot. All of the DLC is free. Keep up the incredible work, Team Cherry. Looking forward to Silksong, and please hit us up if you want a slot at IndieLand 2021.
Number 3.
We've all seen the DLC that brings depth to its main game. We've seen the DLC that gives us something unique. We've seen DLC that builds hype. Borderlands 2 has its own take on DLC, having a load of content. Captain Scarlet and her pirate's booty, Mr. Torg's campaign of carnage, Sir Hammerlock's big game hunt, Tiny Tina's assault on Dragon Keep, Commander Lilith, and the fight for Sanctuary. Those are just the DLC campaigns. You also have the 5 Headhunter mini campaigns like The Horrible Hunger of the Ravenous Wattle Gobbler, and How Marcus Saved Mercenary Day, the Creature Slaughter survival missions, and 2 new playable characters. Starting in on Borderlands DLC is like opening a brand new gift on Christmas. By now, you probably gathered that my take on bonus skins and loot is a resounding meh, and this DLC has its fair share. But the game doesn't just say, okay, you bought this, so here you go. It says, you bought this, now you gotta fight for it. Skins, in my opinion, are so much better when they're earned, and I'm more likely to use them when they act as sort of a trophy for defeating a boss rather than simple vanity. And all that stuff I like about expanding a universe and enhancing the main game, yeah, that's here too. It just so happens to be a universe that is in constant chaos, where those with the most power are also the most sociopathic. We see that in spades with pretty much every boss featured in each additional campaign. The DLC enhances the notion that danger lurks around every corner, but as long as you carry a big ass gun or 4, you can laugh in its face and blow it away. And I cannot wait to get back to Borderlands. I've got diesel in the veins, shiny and chrome.
Number 2.
There are some games that defy convention as they mutate in front of you. And as far as DLC goes, The Binding of Isaac is kinda tricky. Yes, we have the expansion, Wrath of the Lamb, then The Binding of Isaac Rebirth gave us a whole bunch of new items, characters, enemies, floors, and challenges, but then Afterbirth gave us even more, which then became Afterbirth Plus, and now we have The Binding of Isaac Repentance upon us. So the lines between update and DLC are pretty dang blurred, especially with creators Edmund McMillan and Florian Himsel providing so much for free. This is a scenario where the main game and its DLC is basically one and the same. So how do I feel about that? Well, one thing's for sure, this game is a bitch to complete. Every time I get all of the achievements, the new update or DLC comes out and I'm once again short several achievements. This has happened multiple times. I decided I won't even worry about completion until I have it on good authority that there will be no more changes. Besides that, well, from Hush to the Void to Greed Mode to so many goddamn trinkets, there are numerous ways to expand your arsenal and progress, even if you don't make it all the way to the end. I totally understand why Twitch streamers and YouTubers dedicate hours and hours to this game alone. It warrants it.
Number 1.
Simply put, Assassin's Creed Syndicate is one of my favorite games in the franchise for a variety of reasons. Evie and Jacob Fry were an awesome duo. The combinations of mechanics, new and old, were well executed. Like Bloodborne, the Victorian aesthetic ruled. And I said it before and I'll say it again, I'm an absolute sucker when it comes to historical fiction. So I'm already walking in a friendly neighborhood with Assassin's Creed. But I had found my new gold standard of DLC when I came across Jack the Ripper. First off, what's great about this DLC is that Jack the Ripper is an historical figure, right? And no one knows much about him. This was an opportunity for Assassin's Creed to fill in the historical gaps around Jack the Ripper with Assassin's Creed. But beyond that, the game flipped its own gameplay on its head because, guys, this DLC takes the mechanics from the main game and molds them to create a detective noir. The simplicity of finding marks and taking them out was replaced by a search for clues in order to solve a mystery. Eagle Vision now has a sleuthing purpose instead of just a hunting purpose. The mechanics all still remained if I wanted to scale buildings and knife someone from above, but I found this story to be a more steady and intimate experience from what I was used to, and it never got too slow since the DLC also has the player become Jack and take on a more brutal approach. I loved this new detective take on the franchise, and since I played it on the PS4, I was able to continue the fun with the Dreadful Crimes DLC. I lost my shit when I was introduced to Sherlock Holmes writer Arthur Conan Doyle, and I immediately knew who we'd meet once we got to Fleet Street. Yeah, you changed his name a little bit, but that's fucking Sweeney Todd, dude. I did musical theater for many years of my life. Come on. Syndicate's DLC checked every box for me. It expanded the story and enhanced the main game. We got further development with Evie and Jacob Fry and other characters like Henry Green. It introduced a little something new with the fear toxin mechanic, and it totally surprised me by taking the familiar and turning it upside down. Maybe it didn't build a Smash Brothers level of hype, but when I saw the words Jack the Ripper DLC, I had to find out how they were going to tie him into the Assassin's universe. Syndicate's DLC went beyond expectations, and I cannot recommend it enough, especially because a lot of people kind of just turned their heads on Assassin's Creed Syndicate. So now, I'm curious to know, what do you look for in a DLC, and what are your top 10 DLCs? If you ever got into Season Pass, did it fall short, or was it everything you ever hoped for? No question, many of you are going to have thoughts on some picks. Just be sure to keep the comments respectful, as I like what I like, and just wanted to share with you all what I thought. Thank you so much for watching, everybody, and I'll see you all next time.